Alright guys, so for the next few sections we're going to be jumping into Bootstrap 4 and we're going to look at just about everything the framework has to offer. Now to do this I've created something called the Bootstrap Sandbox, which is a custom UI that I've created for the next few sections. It's made up of about 20 or so HTML pages that will give us a starting point for each lecture, and I've also created a navigation so that you can easily jump from lecture to lecture. Most pages will have some initial HTML to start with, but no Bootstrap classes or anything like that. We're going to add that stuff as we move along. So we're going to study all of the classes, the utilities, we're going to apply them to each page, and when you're done you'll have a fantastic reference or resource to look back at so you can easily look up class names and things like that and see how everything is applied. Alright, so in the files for this section you should have a zip package called Bootstrap Sandbox Starter, which I have on my desktop right here. So what I'm going to do is open that up, and then we should have a bunch of HTML files from 2.2 basic typography all the way to 5.6 modals, and these are all HTML files, and then you also have an image folder for some of the sections. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create inside of a projects folder that I have on my machine. I'm going to create a folder called Bootstrap _ Sandbox. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is grab everything that's in that folder or in that zip package and bring it out into that folder. So this is what we're going to be working with for the next few sections. Now I want to open this in Atom, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my Atom text editor, and I'm going to go to File, Add Project Folder, and we're going to choose inside Projects the folder I just created, Bootstrap Sandbox, and click Select Folder. So now we have all of those files over here on the left, and of course we're going to start off with the 2_2 basic typography, which we're going to get into very soon. Now I want to be able to view these in the browser. Now remember, when I installed Atom, I installed a plugin called Atom Live Server. So what I'm going to do is go to Packages, Atom Live Server, and then Start Server. What that's going to do is it's going to open up a browser in this directory. Okay, we don't have an index.html, so it's not going to actually open up an HTML page. It's just going to show us a listing of all the files. Okay, so if I go to the first one, which is 2_2 basic typography.html, that's what's going to display here. Okay, so this is the format we're going to be working with. And notice that we have a navigation at the top, so we can kind of just navigate to lecture to lecture. Okay, so for instance, this is where we'll talk about spacing and margin and padding, utilities. We'll talk about sizing, text alignment, things like that. Now, none of this has any kind of Bootstrap styling. If I go to CSS Components Buttons, which is Section 3, Lecture 2, you'll see there's no Bootstrap button classes applied at all. We're going to go through and we're going to add these as we move along. Alright, so like I said, we'll start with utilities, then we'll move to all of our components, our nav bars, which you'll see is just nothing to start with, alerts, tables, things like that. Then we'll move to the grid system, we'll move to Flexbox, then to the JavaScript widgets like the carousel, the collapse, tooltips. So pretty much everything that Bootstrap has to offer. Now, if we look at one of these files, for instance, the basic typography, we're using, you can see right here, we're using a CDN to include Bootstrap, and we're using version 4.0.0 beta, which is the latest version, which was actually just released a few days ago. I redid this entire course because I had initially done it in Alpha 6, but I don't want you guys to have, you know, old information, old class names, so everything is completely up to date, and as soon as any other version is released, this course will be updated accordingly. Alright, so you should never have to worry about this course being out of date. Now, if we look down here in the header, this is where we have all the drop downs for the different sections. You don't have to worry about any of this at all. If we keep scrolling down, you'll see right here we have this comment that says start here. So for every single lecture that we go to, you're going to have this start here area, and that's obviously where we're going to start the lecture. Okay, so we'll go through, we'll add the heading classes, for instance, the paragraph classes, all the helpers and utilities, and then down at the bottom you can see we're including some scripts. So we have the Bootstrap 4 JavaScript file here, which has 2 dependencies. One is jQuery, which we're including here, and then one is Popper. Okay, so this has to do with some of the JavaScript widgets. So make sure that, well, you don't have to make sure, these are here if you're using the Bootstrap Sandbox. All right, and then the only reason I have this div here with the margin top 500 is because I want to make it so that you don't have to look at the bottom of the browser. This just pushes everything into the middle. All right, so this is the format we're going to be using for sections 2 through 5. After that, we're going to move on to create our workflow and dev server so that we can start on the 5 projects. All right, so that's it for this section. We'll go to the next section, give a little introduction, and then we'll start on the first file here, which is basic topography.